Hey guys, if you really like this episode, please support this podcast by going to talkmurder.com/join and become a Taco Supremo. On this episode, we are covering part 2 of the DC sniper attacks from 2002. Going back further in time to uncover how the Triggerman came to be. Desperate for a father figure, conditioned, even brainwashed, led to the killing of innocent people with the influence of a mastermind. In this case, is the mastermind really the one ultimately responsible? Or is the Triggerman still a minor worthy of punishment of permanence under law?
All right, so this is part 2 of the DC sniper case. And I posted on Facebook if anyone had any comments they want to throw in there. And of course, Alan said something about my lack of knowledge with guns, so I'm just going to delete that.
He just schooled your ass.
Lauren said the worst part of this, besides the constant fear, is that schools were on continuous lockdown, and even though it was gorgeous out, they had recess inside, and this went on for days and days and days.
Oh, so far we've only gone until just the first day.
That stinks. I wish we had recess. You know, studies have shown that recess actually in physical activity increases student performance. So I think that high schools should have recess, but
I think there's something to be said for like taking a break mentally, you know?
Yeah, I mean they have a lunch period where they can kind of just chill and do whatever for 40 minutes or so, but physical activity or having like recess, it actually it promotes cognitive, something to do with cognitive performance.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
because exercising like clears your head and stuff like that.
And it gets the energy out. But I mean, you have some people might say, well, you have PE. What's the difference between that and PE? But PE, you're performing for a grade. You're doing things for a grade for a class that you have to do. But when you have recess, it's just like time to chill and do whatever you want or play sports however you want. So I think that high schools should look into doing that. But what do I know? I just work here.
Guy says, more gin, please.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Guy.
So there's your cult gin. Somebody said Jennies.
Yes,
like
someone said
groupies.
that my groupies were called the Jennies, which
we should make a shirt that says "I am Jenny."
Well, my mom, calls me Jenny.
Up with something like that.
Jenny without the Y. It's
Jenny
like
from the block.
Okay, Lauren said Baltimore is much more deadly than Washington, D.C. Also, while Montgomery County has the reputation of being affluent, we have a
affluent.
We have a large population living in poverty. The Aspen Hill area where many of these shootings occurred is not affluent. Anyway, it is also one of the most diverse counties. Man, my eyesight's getting so shitty. I can hardly see this fucking thing.
You got to eat your carrots.
Our students speak 130 languages. Holy shit. What student, there's 130 different languages out there?
I mean, there are over 2.
What the fuck? Who speaks 130 different languages?
Is she saying a person speaks? The people
our students.
Like, yeah.
I don't know.
The collective people.
Yes.
Oh, I lived here for 37 years, and I can't imagine growing up anywhere else. Well, you haven't been to Charleston because that place sucks compared to Charleston.
I do want to explore DC, though. Like, I've been to DC a couple of times with school groups, but I haven't had time to actually explore and go to the Smithsonian's and do things like that, or like the Postage Museum, I just really
the Postage Museum is not the first museum I probably would have called out as intriguing. But
well, I just said that because I know it's there along with the Smithsonian museums.
I did not know that there was a thing called
Jenny,
the
we don't
Postage
care about
Museum.
that stuff.
Let's
move on. We got a lot to do. William says, oh, he's just making fun of my diet. Okay, Deanna said, I lived through it. I was living in Fredericksburg, VA, it's Virginia at the time. And Lowe says, yes, please. I really didn't address the question we were asking.
But she wants more, I take it. She's rich.
I think that was referring to Guy's comment.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Whatever, Jen. Someone else says something, too. Is this all the comments?
I think someone said something in a separate post.
Are they filtered as most relevant or all comments? You have to check that because mine filters.
I usually filter them as things that talk about me and how great I am. That's a filter mechanism.
Oh, how do I get Mark Zuckerberg to make me my own comment filter?
All right, so we're picking up where we left off. You guys probably don't even remember what story we were talking about.
We're talking about the DC snipers.
All right, so tell me what you guys remember about last week, which is probably nothing.
There are 2 people involved. They were driving a blue Caprice, but people thought it was a white Isuzu box truck.
Caprice Sun?
No, it was a blue car. And
what year was it?
1987.
Oh, that was close.
1984.
Nope. It is. It's 1990.
Well,
which is the year you were born.
Nope.
It was the year I was born.
Ah.
But based on Price is Right rules, I would have won that. So come on down.
All right. So, So in the last episode, we kind of started in the middle almost and towards the end. Because so even though it was the beginning of the sniper spree, that was the middle of the story.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. You confused me.
I know, Jen. So it's
not hard to do. I'll give you that.
Damn it, I want to take a shot. What the fuck? Can't take one?
I mean, go for it, babe. We need to get started here, though. Like, it's already almost 9. All right, guys. Well, we usually don't do surprise shots on part 2s, but this shot is brought to you by Nipatati Gin. Nipatati is a organic distillery right here in Charleston, South Carolina, and they just came out with vodka as well. And so this is the one time that you'll hear us take a shot and not want to die afterwards. So cheers everybody.
Ooh, so good.
Yeah.
Okay, so just right quick to point out Alan's comment. I know that it wasn't a 223, but there was a 223 found in the car. Okay.
So
the murders were actually committed with an AR-15. Okay.
Oh,
exactly.
It's a semi-assault rifle.
The 223 just worked for your rhyme.
Yeah, it did. Holy fuck.
Oh, well, see, Alan, he was just trying to work for the poem that was there.
Okay.
Poem?
Yeah, I can't even pronounce it the way that John pronounced it. Poem.
I think I told you that
Poem.
I presented a poll at school and asked people to pronounce cement, and I was not expecting as many people to say cement.
Cement. That's how you say it, man. What the fuck?
So I half-heartedly want to apologize, but at the same time, I don't.
Or just wholeheartedly, because
we don't talk proper like y'all do up north. You Yankees, you come down here and you try to mess up our language. I ain't buying that. Go ahead and read that, would you?
We were parked in a very large parking lot of a shopping center in Montgomery County, Maryland, or somewhere around this area. The Chevy Caprice was nestled between 3 cars. The trunk of the car was in a direct line of sight with the front door and parking lot of a Michael's craft store. The first order of business was to plot out the routes of the immediate vicinity once the shot had been taken. Muhammad and I sat before a laptop to decide which of the 4 routes presented the least traffic, was the shortest to the next destination, and so on. Once we had selected the route and its alternate, Muhammad popped the trunk. Held fast by bungee cords, the trunk was open and about 2 inches. Muhammad lowered the seat and slid over into the back. The backrest of the back seat was hinged on 2 hooks, of which he simply lifted off access to the trunk. The bracing for the backrest had now been removed.
I know that, like, internet was a thing by now, but But there was no Wi-Fi in 2002. So what are they?
Yeah.
Well, they still, all right.
Did they still have GPS on them?
Yeah,
back
they
then?
had GPS. They had a handheld GPS, and they had
That's
a
not
laptop.
what they said.
Like
They said
a
a
TomTom?
laptop.
I do
just
remember
said
taking.
They had a laptop and a handheld GPS.
But I don't think that they were held
did.
handheld.
They did have.
and there
so they
was
had
internet in
laptops had-
2002.
That's what
No.
I said. I said there wasn't Wi-Fi. It wasn't wireless in
You can
2002.
download maps.
You can do maps
was
on,
freaking
on
a laptop.
available.
Oh, yeah.
Because I
Sorry.
do remember having to
Yeah,
navigate on laptops.
MapQuest all the time,
Yeah.
man.
Oh, let me think back to my favorite thing, Lazy Sunday. Google Maps is the best. True that. Double true.
First, he positioned the backrest and spare tire in the trunk. The spare tire was used as a hand rest when shooting. Having positioned these items, Muhammad then assembled the AR-15. We would spend roughly 2 to 3 weeks of reconnaissance before settling in an area to strike. While Muhammad got settled in the trunk, it was my job to ensure that no one happened to be sitting in the cars around us or loitering nearby. When I gave the go-ahead, immediately a shot rang out. The bullet punched a hole into the glass at the front of the Michael's craft store. Muhammad had missed. The young man he was aiming for was hopping, causing Muhammad to either pull up or mistimed the shot. Next, I assembled the AR-15 and placed it back into its bag. That was the first shot. Before going to bed, Muhammad said, "There will be no more missed opportunities."
Whoa.
Okay, so from what Nicole read, give me some ideas about who's doing this.
Well,
the name is...
Oh, you want to go down that road?
I know it's what everybody's thinking. I'm just going to say it. It's interesting that the name is Mohammed, and we were talking about terrorism. Now that's we don't know anything about this guy, if he's from America or whatever, but that's the first thing that sticks out as we talked about post 9/11. Secondly, it seems like they had taken the first shot was a day before they actually started killing people.
Quote from what you just read. Quote, we would spend roughly 2 to 3 weeks of reconnaissance before settling on an area to strike.
whoa.
2 to 3 weeks.
So
That's a lot of research.
Hell yeah. That's why
That's
they
a
had a whole
lot of
computer. I'm
research.
going to go into the car in a little bit and show you like the computer setup and the GPS, all this stuff.
Why was the guy hopping? Like, was he playing hopscotch?
I don't know. I was wondering that too. I was like, what?
Like, you don't,
or if it like grazed him and he was like, "Ooh,
No,
No.
hopping. He was like hopping like a bunny.
hopping.
weird."
Also, Michael's is one of the trap stores, along with CVS and Target.
Like a trap house?
And
you can go
TJ
buy Mexican
Maxx.
super meth?
No, like the store that you go in to get one thing, you come out spending $200.
I feel
Mexican
that
super
way
meth.
about Home Goods and TJ Maxx.
That's what I said. CVS, Target, Home Goods, TJ Maxx, Michael's, and there's
Marshalls.
Marshalls. Yeah, there's another one too that's on my list, but I can't remember it at the moment.
Okay, this right here is Kenya Cook. She's 21.
We didn't talk about her last episode.
I know, because we're going back in time.
Oh.
Okay. So what you just read was the start of a 23-day sniper spree. And I would love to cover
23 days.
23 days. 23 days, yeah. And it's really hard to pack all the details into the story. This would be like a 4-part story, but 2 kills me.
I mean, I know we talk about serial killers and they are active for years, but these guys are spree killers, right? So they're killing multiple people like in a smaller time frame. But
They're kind of serial killers too, I guess.
they
but-
are serial killers, yeah. But I feel like for the citizens of the area, 23 days probably felt like 23 years because like they were all living in fear. Even though 23 days is only 3 weeks, it just like the fact that these people were not apprehended when multiple, I don't know. It's different. I feel like it's different.
All right, Jim, what day were they sitting in that Michael's parking lot?
October 2nd, 2002.
That is correct. Shit. I didn't think you would get that. All right, this is Kenya Cook you're looking at right now. She is 21, quote, quiet young woman with soft brown eyes, if you see her right there. Okay, go to Talk Murder to see all these pictures. We're going to February 16th, 2002. So this is before the spree murder. So here's how I'm doing part 2. Part 1, I was taking you through Part 1, I was taking you through a lot of the murders that happened during the sniper spree. Okay, but I didn't build character or anything. You guys don't even know who's doing this. This story, I'm going to jump all the way back and build it up to the day that they started the sniper murders. You see what I'm saying? And jumping back like that, now you can build character up and see, you can really put the person's face to these murders that we talked about last episode.
The only thing that came to mind was the part of the Cha-Cha Slide where he's like, reverse. No?
I missed it.
Okay.
Where he's like, reverse, because he's going back in time.
Oh.
Kenya Cook is 21 years old. Now, from the Times Tribune, 22nd December 2002, she's, quote, a sweet-tempered single mom on the mend from a broken relationship, end quote. Okay, she manages a woman's clothing store called Fashion Bug in Tacoma, Washington.
It's awfully far away.
That's a way away.
Yeah.
That's where the pull-up
opposite
police
of the country almost.
Isn't that the pull-up police?
Puyallup.
Puyallup police. And Ted Bundy. No, not Ted Bundy. What's his name?
Green River
Ted Bundy and a Green River Killers are all thinking.
Yeah.
She managed a clothing store called the Fashion Bug in Tacoma, Washington. She's also at night taking business classes. Now, remember, she has a 6-month-old child, and she's single.
6-month-old.
What?
You did that thing.
She's got a 6-month.
I have to give you a credit because it's been a long time since you've said that. So congratulations.
She's got a 6-month
child.
She's got a 6-month child. What? That didn't make sense.
6-month-old.
Oh, 6-month-old. She's got a 6-month-old child, and she's going to business classes every night. Okay, she's 21. She's doing good. She's managing that whole shop by herself. All right. Now, her dream is to eventually own her own restaurant one day. And if you want to read this, Nicole,
That takes a lot.
this is from the Times Tribune.
Rain streaks the windows of the 2-story house. Cook has recently split with the child's father and moved in with the aunt and teenage cousin, who are not home at the moment, but they'll be right back. It's a dreary Saturday in February about 7 p.m., and the family plans a cozy night on the couch in their home in the working-class neighborhood of Roosevelt Heights. Now Cook hears someone at the door.
She hears a knock at the door, and she puts down her 6-month-old daughter, Angeli. Now, she puts her on the bed and walks downstairs. She peeks through the glass, and then she opens the door. She opens the door, and she's confronted immediately with the muzzle of a .45 caliber pistol, and it's pointing directly at her forehead.
Ooh.
Now, this is from the diary, DC Sniper Diary.
Knock, knock. This is mere karma. Your harmony is resolute. Knock, knock. Men kill. Men don't fight. Men initiate action, not passive reaction. The door opened. Good evening. Is Mrs. Nicholas in? I asked. The young lady at the door seemed eager to talk, for she gave me a long answer, telling me exactly the location of Mrs. Nicholas's whereabouts. I have a message for her. I reached into my paper bag, turning my body so she could not see my hand, and a voice deep in me said, Don't. Lee, you cannot face John unless you do this, she inhaled, growing more impatient. This all happens in a few seconds. I pointed the .45 caliber gun to her face, and in an instant, I saw not her, but me. My old self that I hated, that scared, hurt self. That night, Lee Boyd Malvo died. I pulled the trigger. In an instant, she too was gone.
Whoa.
Yeah, so that's from the diary. What can you tell about his writing, just reading that, and from what you read earlier?
He's educated.
There you go. He's very intelligent, actually. I'm talking about 4.0 honor roll, all that stuff.
It's fucking weird he's using himself in the third person.
Yeah, so basically Lee, the guy's name is Lee Boyd Malvo, and he starts by saying Lee, so he's talking to himself, Lee, you cannot face John. John Muhammad is the other accomplice with him. You cannot face John unless you do this.
Oh, I thought she was saying that to him.
No. So it kind of broke it down. Then she inhaled, like, what's happening? And
so he's even saying out loud to himself.
No.
Third
This
person.
is. I don't know if he said it out loud, but this is what was going through his mind.
But he's still thinking about himself.
You're going to see that this guy has a photographic memory, and so every little detail like this he remembers, precisely. So she inhaled, like she sees the muzzle right in her face, growing more impatient. Now this all happens in a few seconds, and then he goes back to the third person. I pointed the .45 caliber gun in her face. So he opens the door, and the first thing he asks is Miss Nicholas in? So he didn't just go shoot someone random. He actually asked if someone was at the house.
And he knew her.
Kind of. And I'm going to tell you right now. According to the spokesman review of the 29th of October 2012, Cook's aunt, Isa Nichols, used to be the bookkeeper for Muhammad's once auto repair business that failed. Now, you'll start to see this. I don't want to give the whole story away, but Nichols became friends with Muhammad's ex-wife at the time. Okay. Now, this explains a little more into that scenario. This is from the Vancouver Sun, October 31st, 2002.
Nichols said his wife, Isa, is a former bookkeeper for Muhammad's failed auto repair business here, had once helped Muhammad's ex-wife hide from him at a woman's shelter, and SAP assigned her in court during the custody hearing for their 3 children. Isa Nichols did not respond to requests for interviews, but her husband said they never suspected him in their niece's slaying until last week.
So yeah, I'm going to tell you in a second, but both of these guys got arrested. And so these murders didn't even come to light until after the whole arrest and everything. They didn't even, because this is in Washington.
When was this again?
This was February 16th, 2002. And the murders, the spree killers.
Oh, yeah.
The spree
it was
murders.
like 8 months later.
Yeah. Is October 2nd. So we're starting in Washington. I told you I was going to go back to this episode, and we're going to make our way back up to Maryland.
Okay.
But before I go any further from now, I do want to show you the DC snipers. So the picture, John Muhammad is on the left. He's in the orange jumpsuit. And then Lee Boyd Malvo, the book we're reading from, that's him on the right in the green shirt.
Looks awfully young.
Yeah, just keep that in mind. He is 17 at the time of this whole thing. And, well, in fact, no, actually, he was 16 when he just killed... the Kenya Cook.
My
yeah.
God. So he
just turned 17 on February 18th, and she was killed on February 16th. So he was 16 when he went to her door.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, I can't. Like, some of my kids are older than that kid.
Interesting that has such a very high intelligence level, and he's doing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
now,
I'm sorry to interject. I really am. But you said we're reading from his diary, which you referred to him as the Triggerman. So he's the one that's shooting?
Yeah, he's a Triggerman.
So the mastermind is Muhammad.
He's Muhammad. I'm not going to get really into him because, number one, he's dead. He was killed by a lethal injection death penalty.
Okay.
That's not the point I want to get in with this story. The guy on the right, the Triggerman, is not dead. Okay.
Was it because he was tried as a juvenile, or was he tried as an adult? Is this too far ahead for what we know?
This is from the Washington Times about 22 hours ago. They posted this.
Today?
Yeah, today.
Whoa.
Senate Bill 103 just passed the Virginia Senate without much attention from the public on a vote of 29 to 10. Now the proposal heads to the House of Delegates, and every Virginian should know what it does and try to stop it from becoming law. Lawmakers claim it is about fairness to the accused. It is not fair to the citizen jurors who have heard evidence in his case, and it is especially not fair to the millions of Virginians who were terrorized almost 20 years ago by Lee Boyd Malvo, the D.C. sniper who was tried as an adult at age 17 and sentenced to life in prison. If this bill is not stopped, Malvo will be eligible for parole.
What?
So the title of this article is "Why the DC Sniper Should Never Be Eligible for Parole."
So
is
the bill have to do with juvenile?
Yes, that's a big thing we're going to talk about tonight. This was posted January 28th, 2020. This is news. Okay,
Whoa.
and at the very end,
that was literally yesterday.
okay. He didn't get the death penalty.
Okay.
All right. And then we're going to get into the whole story.
Guy
we're going
who
to get
did
into the whole
not
story.
Kill anyone.
Exactly.
Did.
I'm going to get into that. But we're talking about Lee Boyd Malvo right now.
Okay.
He's the trigger man. He killed all those people.
Okay.
Which amounted to how many people?
I'll tell you the number in a second.
Okay.
But,
Wasn't it 12 or something?
But as of now, he got his life sentences, or he's getting his life sentences overturned.
What?
So he will be able to get out on parole, and it may be like one of those technicalities where he's free a lot sooner than people think. Okay? You know what I'm saying? He could be walking around in the next 10 years. It sounds crazy.
I don't know about that.
No, you do know about that. It says right here, if they cannot pass this bill, then he can walk free. Okay.
Wait, if they cannot pass the bill, he can walk free?
If they stop, they have to stop the bill.
They have to stop the bill. And read this bottom line.
Call your legislatures in the House of Delegates before it is too late. Tell them to vote no on the proposals that would bring back parole.
Now, this is for Virginia state, correct? This is not something that we as a nation can vote on?
Correct.
Okay. So Nicole brought up a really good point about, so Muhammad didn't pull the trigger.
Right.
He says something like that.
He's not the actual killer.
He's not the actual killer.
He's
But he was the mastermind.
for sure.
And he probably didn't think of this, and I'm going to get into the backgrounds, don't worry. But there is a statute called the Triggerman statute. Now, this is from the Star Democrat, 23rd December 2002.
All evidence points to Malvo as Sniper Triggerman. The other statute allows for the death penalty when a person commits more than one murder in a 3-year period. That statute is unlikely to face a constitutional challenge, but generally, only the triggerman can receive the death penalty under that law. Prince William Commonwealth's attorney Paul Ebert has said, though, that a death penalty could be obtained if that evidence overwhelmingly shows that the person who didn't pull the trigger was so thoroughly involved in the planning and execution of the crime that his involvement was equivalent to pulling the trigger. While the terrorism law makes it easier to obtain the death penalty against a person who is not the triggerman, it is also new untested law that will surely be challenged on constitutional grounds. The other statute allows for the death penalty when a person commits more than one murder in a 3-year period.
So they're making all kinds of new laws.
But I mean, I still don't understand how this other guy didn't get the death penalty. He was tried
because
as a
he was
juvenile.
17. You can't put a minor to death in any state.
But he was tried as an adult.
It doesn't matter. You can't put a minor to death in any state, I'm pretty sure. Maybe Texas, because they do whatever the fuck they want.
Well, I mean, I'm not questioning what you're saying, but I'm like wondering what the difference is if he was tried as a juvenile versus if he was tried as an adult.
If he's tried a juvenile, he can stay in life in prison.
Right.
But you can't put a juvenile to death.
So regardless of the fact that he was tried as an adult.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know of any 17-year-olds that have been executed.
But once, I mean...
But he's not 17. Like, it takes a long time to get through death row.
No, but it doesn't matter. The crime was committed when he was 17. Right. He was a minor.
I get what you're saying.
That is why he may walk free. You guys got to understand that. He may walk free of all of this. All right, let's talk about the Caprice, the 1990 Caprice.
September 10th, Mohammed buys a blue Chevy Caprice with 146,975 miles on it at Sure Shot Auto Sales in Trenton, New Jersey. He pays $250 for the car.
Wow, if I could buy a car for that amount of money, I probably would.
Do you think it was ironic that the name of the town or the name of the auto shop was Sure Shot?
Ooh.
Oh, shit, I didn't catch that. Sure Shot Auto Sales.
Isn't that fucking weird?
That is weird.
You know what's funny also is that the name of the car is Caprice. I think of like a caprese salad, but it's not spelled like that.
Okay, this is the Caprice right here. Now, it's basically a modified cruiser. Now, I want to say that it was outfitted similar to the Irish Republican Army, how they would outfit their vehicles. Do you know what that is?
Yes, it was a conflict between England.
Well, no, who is the actual army? The IRA.
The IRA is the
Northern
rebels.
Ireland.
Okay.
It's Northern Irish people who are against.
Yeah, exactly. So they're known for paramilitary terrorist acts, right? I mean, car bombs and all that stuff. And anyway, their doctrine has specific ways they outfit the car, and so he followed a lot of that doctrine. If you see there, the top picture, you go to talkmore.com, right above the license plate, do you see that little cut above the license plate? You see it?
Yeah.
On the top picture?
Yeah.
So that is the trunk you're looking at. When the trunk pops open, you pop it open a little bit, and it's held by a bungee cord so it doesn't come all the way up. Pops open like maybe an inch. And that little hole there, that's where your muzzle goes.
Whoa.
And you put that in there.
So the shooter was sitting in the trunk.
Exactly.
Whoa.
The shooter was sitting in the trunk.
So he looked for a car that had a large trunk.
That's the car right there. That is completely different than a white box truck.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And I would imagine that's not a very popular car, though, that's driving around even in 2002.
Okay, so that's the trunk right there. You see him sitting in the back right there?
Yeah. Did they have the seats down in the back?
The seat folded down. If you remember what Nicole read the first time, the missed shot, the seat folds down all the way, and then the tire back there, from what I can see, was where you kind of rested your rifle on. So,
and the scope can also come out of that little hole.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So he can see through big cut above the license plate?
Yeah, it's a very tight squeeze, but it's good enough for what they were doing. Now, they were shooting across 4 6-lane highways, so, I mean, it worked pretty good. Now, the police also found in the car an AR-15 in a duffel bag with explosives. This is from the diary.
We added solar panels to the dashboard so I could run the laptop without draining the car's battery. Work was also done on the engine, making it more powerful. But the most important changes were made to the trunk of the car. We removed the frame to separate the trunk of the car from the inside. This alteration without being seen either before or after a shooting took place. All of the windows were darkly tinted.
Also found in the car, now this is from the FBI's website, a Bushmaster .223 caliber rifle. That's for you, Alan. That was used. Also, a rifle scope for taking aim. A back seat that had the sheet metal removed between the passenger compartment and the trunk, enabling the shooter to get into the trunk from inside the car. The Chevy Caprice's owner manual with the FBI laboratory later detected written impressions of one of these demand notes. I didn't get to the notes. The digital voice recorder used by both Malvo and Muhammad to make extortion demands. And I didn't get in any of the extortion demands or anything because it just take way too long for these episodes. But a laptop stolen from one of the victims containing maps of the shooting sites and gateway routes from some of the crime scenes, and maps, walkie-talkies, and many more items. That's from the FBI's website. All right, so let's get into these guys, right? Here, this is a quote from a guidance counselor.
Excuse me. The proper term now is school counselor.
Oh, all right, well, go ahead and read this, school counselor.
Miss James, the child needs a stable home somewhere to settle down. He cannot keep rolling from place to place. This is doing him no good. You have an intelligent son who can do well if he has a steady support system. Former guidance counselor of Lee Boyd Malvo. Now, at that time, they were called guidance counselors. However, we're now called school counselors because we do more than just give guidance.
Okay, Malvo was born on February 18th, 1985. He's 1 year and a few days older than me. To an Una James and Leslie Malvo. Now, I said he was born on February 18th, and he killed Kenya on February 16th. That makes him 16 by 2 days. Okay, well, which doesn't matter. He's still a minor, but I'm just saying. All right, this is, I got some pictures of him. I'm going to just scroll down these. I'll put all these on talkmurder.com for you guys. So this is him right here as a baby. This is his dad. This is mom. This is him. Now, this is the young one. This is the 17-year-old, not Muhammad, okay?
Right, gotcha.
Was he born in the U.S.?
No, he was actually born in Kingston, Jamaica.
Okay.
So do you remember the tarot card?
The Mr. Policeman.
Yeah, so the BAU, the Fitzgerald. Yeah, he nailed that right on the head. That's why he gets paid the big bucks, I guess.
You guys remember Sean Kingston?
Yeah.
He was from Jamaica.
So where did his teachers and also think that he was like a gifted student? Or
Yeah, he was gifted. He was extremely smart and a photographic memory. And he was born in Kingston, Jamaica. His father, Leslie Malvo, was known as, quote, the brown man. He was a Mason. He was not a disciplinarian at all. He was the nice dad.
He was you.
Yeah, he was the softy, if you will.
He was a
the
good
mother
cop.
was a disciplinarian. Okay, he loved Malvo. He was a loving guy. And Malvo in his diary also remembers his father would tie a rope to the handlebars of his tricycle and, quote, pull me to and fro wherever he went. A little more about Leslie Malvo is he was a Mason, like I said. He was quiet, quote, the most emotionally available adult in the family. Although he loved his son and he never pressured him, unlike his mother did. He would never, ever beat his son. And from Lee Boyd Malvo, quote, I was a little caramel complexioned replica of him, his pride and joy. But he did have a bad side. He was, and this is a quote from the diary, a man whore and a philanderer. He also had a gambling addiction. He would also hit his wife. Okay, Una.
Nice.
But at the most of the times I read in the diary, she was the aggressor. The father actually leaves to go make money in the Grand Cayman Islands, okay? And he was going to send it back to Kingston, Jamaica. But what went wrong here is even though he's a great guy and nice guy, he's also a womanizer. Like I said, he's a man whore.
And he just left.
So he didn't leave. He was sending money, but then the wife, Malvo's mother, finds out that there's another woman living in his apartment while he's working up there. Coming home, he's got like two things going. Got some strange up there.
Polyamorous.
Yeah. So she found out, and she actually took a machete to him.
Oh,
although
shit.
he just
She's not playing.
Well, he just got his finger cut off, but nothing big.
Which finger? Well, don't show us a picture.
Every fortnight, my father would have to deliver X amount of dollars to my mother for all the bills, savings, and to cover the cost of her tuition. She was learning the trade of a seamstress and wanted to be a fashion designer. On this one weekend, my father was short, so my mother arrived at the conclusion that he had given money to this other woman. Being that he had been caught red-handed in the act before, she was within reason to assume this. They got into an argument that my father knocked one or two of my mother's teeth out.
Ooh.
This was one beating too many.
Oh, so he is not a fan of his dad.
And Jen said, can you show us a picture? And in fact, one of the things about this diary here, if you read this diary, he includes all his own drawings. He's a fantastic artist. So I'm gonna show you what that looked like. So this is the machete.
He drew that?
Yeah, he drew that. So this diary is full of drawings, really good drawings too.
Oh my gosh, I wonder how long it took him to draw that. It probably took him longer to draw that picture than it did to write the entry.
And I'm going to put all these on talkmurder.com, but I'll scroll through here and show you a few. Let's see.
It literally looked like a picture book, like something that you would literally
like
purchase.
A cartoon.
He could probably be the stenographer. No, not stenographer. That's the person that types. He could probably be the courtroom artist for his own trial.
So his mother cuts off all ties with the father, drains the bank account, and moves to the rural endeavor in the parish of St. Anne. Now, she basically literally cuts contact when she finds out of his infidelities, right? I mean, completely just blacklisted them. He had no idea where they were. So, and he has a right to see his son. Well, I don't know how they do it in Jamaica, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So he was trying to at least see his son, but she denied him that. Now, Malvo, as I said before, was very intelligent, and this is from his book. Quote, I was a fairly intelligent child with a photographic memory that I still possess to this day. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the mother. She's the aggressor. Once she left her husband, numerous men would come in and out of the home. You know, she was trying to obviously find the replacement. And Lee Malvo resented his mother, not hated, because I read the entire diary and I could see so many mother problems in there. And it wasn't a hate, it was more of a resentment. You know what I'm saying? It's not like pure hatred. It's just like, I don't know how to explain it.
Kind of like, come on, Mom, like you don't have to do this type of thing.
Yeah, but this is going to play a very big part. Is the father left when he was 4 years old. Okay. And so he didn't have a father figure growing up, and he loved his father a lot. And he grew up without a father pretty much. So he's searching himself for a father figure. Okay. Keep that in mind. All right. So here you go. Read this. This is from the diary.
I soon started a pattern of passive-aggressive behavior and retaliation. I couldn't fight back with the blows, so instead I broke my mother's cherished crockery and began to stay out late. I hated my life. First, she smacked that look off my face, then got a belt and used the leather end with a buckle to beat me. Ooh. She hit me everywhere, and when it was all said and done, I had welts all over my body, and my eye was swollen, along with blood pouring out from my head.
I got beatings at least twice daily for a few good hours with my mouth closed, so imagine the trouble I would have caused myself if I had opened it. Nope, that was not going to be worth it. The abuse was a 24-hour-a-day thing, verbal and physical. A lecture about my disobedience, being worthless, being heartless, causing her to become a failure, coupled with how I was to be blamed for all her failed relationships, including her current relationship, which was now in disarray.
Okay, I have many more quotes about him getting beaten to a pulp, but you guys understand he was abused by his mother.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
I also read where he was molested by a babysitter at one point.
Oh.
I did read that in there. He also says, quote, "Have you ever been beaten so badly that you could not sit, sleep, or eat?
Oh,
it was
shoot.
like being stomped on by a bunch of bullies 3 times your size."
Wow.
Okay. Now.
So he was, his mother had a falling out with his father. His father left. He was abused by his mother. So I might be skipping ahead, but can one assume that this Muhammad guy was a father figure to him?
There you go, Jen. You're right on it. You're getting a lot of stickers.
I know.
Lee Boy Malvo wanted to become an airline pilot. That's like his dream. So they actually moved to Antigua. You guys know where that is?
Yes, it's in the Caribbean, right?
Yeah, it's in the Caribbean.
I want to go there. That's on my bucket list of places to go.
I have a friend.
So beautiful.
I had a friend that's going to. He got a scholarship for medical school there.
Really?
Yeah.
Not a bad place to go to school.
No. My friend went to.
I mean, I don't know if the school is actually good, but as you know, physically,
probably shady.
One of my friends went to.
Is that owned by the United States? No.
Which school is it?
No, I'm talking about the Antigua.
Oh, no,
island.
I think it's British.
It's its own.
Oh, maybe it's his own. I don't know.
I'd be weirded out. You know, like those doctors in North Korea.
It's like on Scrubs how the Todd got his doctorate in like Jamaica or something.
Yes, the Todd. But Antigua's on my bucket list. Also Bora Bora in Belize, which is Belize with a Z, but Belize, like Barcelona.
All right, so anyway, they moved to Antigua. Now, around this time, the mother gets it in her head that she wants to go to the United States. So she actually goes to St. Martin and literally leaves Lee Boyd Malvo, a teenager, 14 years old, in Antigua to fend for himself. Literally, to eat, she's not sending any help back. She just takes off and leaves. So he's living by himself, and trying to survive. So what do you do when you're trying to do that? Well, you start
begging,
trying to make money, right? You start selling Mexican super meth.
Or palmetto roses.
Go ahead, Nicole.
Video games, computer software, anything I could resell, I stole it. I sold them. I told them to give me 3 days and I would have it for them, and I usually did. My most dependable catch was the church offering plate. On a good weekend, the church plate yielded between 75 and 100 Eastern Caribbean currency. The exchange rate at the time was $1 equaled US dollar equaled $2.20 EC. 2 months flew by fast, and I had enough for the rent, which was $400. Mr. Williams came by every 2 weeks and gave me $50. So that helped me pay the light bill.
Yeah, so he's talking about selling computers.
Stolen goods.
Stolen goods, basically. CDs, DVDs, all that stuff. He's selling it. All right. Now, I'm going to skip forward to this. I'm trying to... This part is about him because Muhammad, I'll answer a little bit of questions, but I mean... this is about him because he may get out of prison. So we need to build his personality about this.
Right.
All right.
During my final days on the island is when I saw John Allen Muhammad. He was at Jaja's electronic and computer repair shop where a few kids played on computer games. Mr. Muhammad's son, John Jr., was playing a flight simulator game. I had watched the relationship they had. He was talking to his son to return to the cockpit view, saying, "You don't fly a plane from the inside out." John Jr. laughed and returned to his instrument panel. Then he went to practice his father, as had recommended, with just the instrument panel by island hopping in a thunderstorm. There was so much laughter, joking, and encouragement. It was something I was not used to seeing between a father and his son.
John Muhammad made his money getting legitimate American identification, birth certificates, passports, all this stuff for people that want to go to the United States. Obviously, it was illegal, but it was legitimate documents. Like, it's not just a fake passport. It's a real identity, right? Now, his real name is not John Muhammad, is John Allen Williams, but he changed it to Muhammad when he converted to Islam in 1987.
Interesting.
And I put, you remember Superbad? Muhammad, that's the most widely
popular
name in the world. All right, so a little bit about John Muhammad. He was actually a engineer in the Army. He grew up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and he was actually in the Army and the National Guard. Like in the National Guard, I believe he was like a mechanic, and then he went to the Army. He was like a combat engineer.
Okay.
So now you start to see where the techniques come in, right?
Okay.
He was already, he knew how to fix the car. He upgraded the car because he was a mechanic.
We're still talking about Muhammad, right?
Yeah, Muhammad.
Okay.
It's a very brief on Muhammad. And I want to say he did fight in the Gulf War, and there was some, and since he was around chemicals, there was some debate, some talk that I saw about, his brain was, affected by these chemical warfare, and that made him like all messed up.
But he was also professionally trained on how to
do all these things.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. I was going there next too. Is he the one that trained him on shooting skills?
Yeah, exactly. Now,
awfully good though.
Quote, John understood me. He listened. He appreciated me and took into account my perspective in almost every subject. Okay. Now at this, John was charging $3,500 to get the mother into the United States. And actually, John Muhammad got obviously Lee Boyd Malvo into the United States with, the identification and the passport or whatever.
Is he helping them get into the United States legally or illegally? I don't know if that's relevant, if it's not, whatever.
From what I found out, it's illegal, but it's like real identities almost. It's like changing your identity or something. I don't really know. I couldn't really tell. I mean, maybe it's legal, but I mean, he's a shady dude.
You can cut that part if
no, I mean,
sure.
I'm pretty sure it's not legal. And that's another question. I mean, this guy's not even from here. He's from Jamaica. Like, I don't even know how that plays in. I actually didn't even think about that till now.
Well, it wouldn't be considered a domestic terrorist, that's for sure.
Correct.
Now, he says, John Muhammad had a few sons of his own, keep that in mind, and a daughter. Now, that's going to be becoming very important. By November 15, 2000, my mother was in the United States. I got very ill several months after my mother left. For the first 8 years of my life, I had suffered with bouts of rheumatic fever. I had such an attack during this period that I was completely bedridden. Muhammad visited to check in on me and found the door open. He took me to the doctor where I received antibiotic shots. Muhammad stayed with me, kept me at his house for nearly a week, and nursed me back to health. And at this point, he starts calling him sir, and Muhammad starts calling him son. So now you see how this is fitting in.
Got it.
Because Lee Boyd Malvo always wanted a father figure. He had one, but the mother took him away.
Right.
Because he wanted to come back.
He's being manipulated, for sure.
Exactly. All right. At this point, Muhammad was calling Lee Boyd Malvo's son. He also introduced him to the Nation of Islam, and he added a systematic training of physical fitness. Now, you'll see in a second, they would run 3 miles a day and only eat 1 meal a day, and they would constantly be doing push-ups and just he was being trained as a killer.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is what the Taliban does too. Like they indoctrinate you with all this stuff you're about to see, and then they get your physical fitness so you're good enough to go, do a bunch of harm. Like this is exactly what this is.
To this day, I cannot do a push-up.
You are an instrument. Whenever your conscience gets in the way, do this. He hits his left pectoral muscle on his chest with his right fist really hard. Call your heart to rest. Distill your thoughts. Still your mind. Concentrate. Go over what has to be done. Think of the possible escape routes. Don't think it. Be it. You are what you think. Watch your eyes. Observe what your eyes really see. Get your heartbeat down. Stop blinking so often. Ask, why am I perspiring? He then pats me on the back. The only one who can do it is you. I can give you the pie, but I can't force you to eat. Free your mind.
Well, Lee Boyd Malvo is not only eating 1 meal a day, but Muhammad is, okay? And they actually... The reason they're doing this is because this guy named Elijah Muhammad. Now, all right, do you remember the Dylan Roof case?
Yeah.
The white supremacist?
Yeah.
So take that case with this episode and literally just change the colors around.
Okay.
Okay? Because these guys I'm going to tell you about are the black supremacists, if you will. I mean, that's what they are, right? I mean, they're, Malcolm X and stuff like that. All those people, they fit along with this.
The Black Panther type movement.
Yeah, and I don't know too much about the Black Panthers, but this is Elijah Muhammad. Now, this is what they would listen to on a daily basis over and over and over, all the lectures and everything else. Now, Malcolm X, I did a little bit of research. Malcolm X was a part of this movement until they had a falling out after JFK got shot. And I don't know the details about it, but so it's that same indoctrination that you're going to hear is that is basically radicalism.
And until we can really sit down and do some serious research on what our diets is doing, and finally on that illegal drug thing, there was one person in this country that brought us the problem and solved it without switching you from one drug to methadone, another one, without a federal grant. And if that man would have been a white man, we would all know we have the solution. His name was Elijah Muhammad. And now you black folks know, because he took our mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, nieces and nephews, aunts and uncles, and took them out the gutter, hooked to all kinds of drugs, all kinds of whiskey, all kinds of everything with pockmarked faces and bloodshot eyes. And when he gave them back to us, their faces was as smooth as velvet and their eyes was as white as snow. And they walked with a dignity like the sun would touch their head. How did he do it? Rearrange their diet. He took a Malcolm X who was a thug, a pimp, a dope addict, and a dope pusher. And when Malcolm left us, he was one of the most honest, ethical human beings that ever lived in the history of this planet. How did the old man do that? Did he send him to Harvard or Yale or MIT or Harvard University? He rearranged his diet, and he didn't do no more. And right today, we can walk across this country in the black community, and we can recognize black Muslims, not because of them bow ties and funny-looking haircuts, because of the texture of their skin and the quality of their walk and the whiteness of their eyes. And there's no trick. There was no magic. You didn't have to read nothing. You didn't have to go to school and learn it. Real.
All right.
Wait, it's because they eat 1 meal a day?
Well, I haven't read this guy's book. It's called, here's the book right here. I think it's kind of the book that you only read if you're, in this movement. Because I was like, it's on Amazon, and some guy was like, this shit ain't working. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, like, what the fuck? So anyway, and I could go into more detail about that. But anyway, what I'm trying to say here is he was radicalized.
Right.
Okay, they would constantly listen to this Elijah Muhammad and other people. There's a guy, and I haven't done much research on him, but he's called Minister Farrar Hakan, and I listened to a little bit of his YouTube speeches. It's very radical.
And when you're radicalized, I mean, your thought process may not even be that it's bad for other people. You know what I mean? Like that's when you're
it's like a mission.
Yeah, when you're so into that belief. And I'm not trying to justify what people have done. I'm just saying that, it doesn't matter what religion it is. You can be a radical whatever, and that's your purpose in life. Mm-hmm.
So I'm not really doing a good job in explaining this, but just remember the whole time, this guy's 17-year-old kid, he found a father figure in John Muhammad. He was introduced to radical Islam, and he was basically trained to kill. I mean, they would go to the rifle range every day. Here, I can't
remember if you said this, but how long were they like together before the event happened? Like, how long was he training them for?
I think it was 3 years.
Oh wow!
But it was straight training. I mean, they would go to the rifle range every day, and I'm not going to get into this, but how they would fund their venture was they'd be doing little schemes. They had like cashback schemes where they go and buy something at once, or they go and steal something at one store and then return it to the same store, like they paid for it, kind of thing.
Kind of like the John Perry switcheroo.
So this is a picture of them at the shooting range.
Oh wow! I'm assuming you do that too.
Yeah. So these are all his drawings, but this is Lee Boyd Muhammad or Lee Boyd Malvo, and you see his father, if you will, is sitting right over. So they spent all their money, and they were making good money. I'm talking about like they'd make like $5,000 a day sometimes doing these little schemes. Yeah. So they spent that all on a YMCA gym membership and literally shells for rounds and shells for guns. I mean, he was getting radicalized, at a very high rate of speed. I've seen people get radicalized, but that was pretty quick, within a few years. But anyway, so y'all understand that. Okay, let's move on. Now, we're moving from Tacoma, Washington, and we're going to Tucson, Arizona. All right, this is March 19th, 2002. Okay, now he is 17. Okay. This is, a month after? Yeah, 1 month, almost 1 month to the day. This is Jerry Ray Taylor. He's a 60-year-old man. He was golfing at the Fred Inc. golf course in Tucson, Arizona. Now, the background of this guy, he was a dairy product and frozen goods salesman, and he would always go to this golf course and he would go and hit a bunch of golf balls and do a couple pars or what. I don't know golf. But
play a round or two.
Play a couple holes or whatever.
Play a round.
This is from the Tucson Citizen, the 21st of March, 2002. And you'll notice when you're reading this is before they got caught.
Police are not saying what was taken from Jerry Ray Taylor, 61, who was found dead Tuesday afternoon by other golfers. Several people at the golf course, 8251 East Irvington Road, thought they had heard something, like gunshots that afternoon, said Pam Drake, the course's head golf pro. Golfers were not alarmed because they frequently hear shots from the nearby Davis Monathan Air Force Base small arms range. His body was found shortly after 2 p.m. Tuesday in desert brush in a chipping area. His golf clubs and bag were found some distance from his body, police said. There were probably 5 or 6 people out there when they were looking for their golf balls that discovered the body, Drake said.
Now, John Muhammad's older sister lived in the Tucson area at the time.
John decided that we needed to visit the park bordering the golf course to see if the venue presented the best opportunity for a shot. Under the pretext of exercising with his sister, we visited the park. I separate myself from John and his sister. I walked the trails and discovered that the desert offered little in the way of cover. The following evening, John tells me to get dressed. He then hands me a bus ticket and my backpack, which contained water, protein bars, dried cranberries, granola, a full day's supplies of vitamins, desert camouflage fatigues, boots, a sleeping bag, some plastic bags, pencils, and a drawing pad. John said, I want a full description of the target's routine. I need a detailed map of the park. I want you to highlight on the map the escape routes and the best places to take a shot. I need for you to clock the escape routes. Understand? Yes, sir, I replied. He hands me the binoculars.
So they're just going to shoot a random 60-year-old golfer.
It's practice.
It's practice.
He's getting him trained.
Exactly.
I feel like at this point he does not know what is coming.
Oh,
in DC.
no. Well,
he does not know that
and
that
I did not get into this.
You know?
I did not get into this, but I will now. Okay. John Muhammad lost his wife. His wife left him because he's a freaking maniac. Right. But he has a few kids. So when they get divorced, John Muhammad basically kidnaps his own children and takes them down to Antigua, where he met Lee Boy Malvo. Okay. But the kids get taken back from him because you just kidnapped these kids and took them to an island. Yep. You know, you're probably not fit to raise kids anyway. So, and there's this whole there's audio clips of him in custody battle for these kids. It's crazy. So he gets back, okay, and he can't get the kids through the court process because they're not going to give them to him. Plus, his ex-wife has just vanished off the face of the earth and took the kids. He finds out those kids are living in the Washington, D.C. area. Is this starting to make sense right now? Now it's starting to come together. So here's the story, okay? And then when I figured this out, I was like, what the fuck? He is trying to get back at his ex-wife. He doesn't give a shit about any of this crap. From what I can see, what he wants to do is kill his ex-wife. But if you go in, Nicole,
and so he's going to kill a whole bunch of random
people? Because all right, if you kill me, the cops are going to be like, all right, Nicole, we know you did it. It's like, we're not dumb. But if you go, I'm just saying, and you kill 30 other people with me in there somewhere
as a just random person.
Well, I mean, not. I mean, if you.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
You're one of 30 people.
You're one of 30.
And
so
it seems like it's you are totally random in this selection.
Exactly. That's is the story.
Very interesting.
That is the story.
So did he actually kill her?
No, he didn't kill her. But do you remember the first murder we talked about today?
Yes.
The 21-year-old mother?
Yes.
Okay. Her aunt, who was also living at the house, Isa, helped the ex-wife hide during the custody battle.
Oh, okay.
So he's basically a fucking baby is what he is. He's trying to get back at his ex-wife. Okay, so as Nicole said earlier, he took that go bag with granola bars and all this stuff, water. He actually sat in the rough or whatever on a golf course, like in the trees where he can't be seen. Mm-hmm. He lay down there in a sniper's position for 3 days. 3 days. And he mapped one guy's movement, this 60-year-old, for 3 days. He just sat there in silence on this golf course. Lee Boyd Malvo did for 3 freaking days. And that's when he got the idea of how to lure in his prey. And this is what he was going to do. The guy, he noticed, he would always walk towards this one edge because that's where a lot of the golf balls, and he had like one of these automated, I don't know how, maybe like a leaf blower looking thing, and it'd pick up the golf balls. Mm-hmm. So this guy, 60-year-old guy, zigzags over and he just picking up all the golf balls. So he got the idea that if I just get a bunch of golf balls and kind of make a trap, close to where I am, I can lure this 60-year-old in and kill him. And then since I'm, in the cover, in the bush here, I could just drag his body in there and no one will find him.
Right.
I mean, it's fucking nuts, right? Because what the fuck? who sits there for 3 days and stalks a 60-year-old golfer?
Someone who's been brainwashed to do it.
Exactly. That's now you see the story, right?
Yeah,
now you
I get
see
it.
why the other argument to this case is it wasn't me that did this. It was the indoctrination and the brainwashing that did this.
I mean,
now you understand.
I still think that like you have a part in it for sure.
But do you at 17?
Yes.
Okay. Because a lot of people don't. I'm just saying.
I don't think it's a part that's not enough to not go to life in prison, at least, you know?
I know he is in life in prison, but I'm saying it could be he could be free one day. It might be till he's 80, but look at the Evil Brothers episode. That asshole's free. Yeah. You know, and he like raped and killed a 12-year-old and he's walking free as a bird. Like, it's bullshit. And this guy bullshit. Who has killed a lot of fucking people.
I don't think anyone who has killed someone,
even if they're brainwashed,
it's not like it was one fucking person.
What do you mean?
Like, I could almost feel differently about it if it was a singular event where he was brainwashed to kill somebody. He ended up killing how many people? Like 20 people?
Oh, okay, well, yeah. And that brings me into this. You can read this.
And so that's where it's like, I kind of don't, I get I totally get it, brainwashed or not, but that doesn't mean that's somebody that should be walking free in our society. Sorry, you still got to go to prison for the rest of your life.
Because he's 17. Or he was 17 at the time. I'm just saying what...
and that does add another complication to it.
And I'm just saying why you should call the senator and say, what the hell? This guy could be walking free. Because here's how it works, man. Like, they're real quiet until they're free. You know what I'm saying?
Here's the thing.
You got to make a fuss now.
But he was closer to 18 than he would have been if he was like 14 when this happened. Do you know what I mean?
What does it matter? A minor's a minor. It could be the day before your 18th birthday, and you kill everyone.
I see what you're saying, but
I think a judge has to ultimately decide if you're going to be tried as an adult. So I don't know what they decided here.
Here's the thing about being a minor or not being a minor. You just said it could be the day before his 18th birthday. The day before his 18th birthday, he can't be drafted to go fight in a war, but the next day he's suddenly more mature enough that he can be drafted to fight in a war.
Rules.
But that's the law.
That's the law.
I know
man.
It's the law.
I know
it's the law. That's what I'm saying is that it doesn't necessarily matter if he was 17 versus 18. I'm saying he was closer to an age of legality than he was if he was like 14 when it happened and he was being brainwashed. He had some sense. I mean, he was desperately searching for a father figure.
But he was 14 when he met this guy. And then since day one, it was indoctrination. They were running 3 miles a day, doing push-ups, listening to nothing but Malcolm X and all those radical, movements or whatever. I mean, that's his life for 3 years.
So I think there's I don't know enough about this kind of case law or what. So I think the ages of between 16 and 18 is the gray area of I think a judge can decide if they are mature enough to be tried as an adult. I think there is the ability for a judge to determine that.
No, he was tried as an adult. You guys understand that?
Yes. But he's still a minor.
But he's a minor, so he couldn't be executed.
Gotcha.
Okay, that is the thing. But
which is, I mean, like I said, never mind.
But he's already asked for a lower sentence. Okay,
because he was a minor.
Because he got multiple life sentences.
Okay,
on his bill.
Right.
Okay, and so he asked for a reduction, and then the judge actually, it's in the process now of going through that of a potential reduction. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Of life sentences.
John went on to say, right now, the question that is gnawing at your psyche, the question that went unasked is, how can I justify killing this man? How will his family be affected? John removed the 7 pictures of the man from the manila envelope and laid them out from largest to smallest before me. And then he continued, the white man is either the devil or your friend, What you spent the last week doing was to reverse, however, minutely a process the Caucasians have used to successfully conquer all Native people the world over. You secretly invaded his life, you studied his movements, his character, you found the best opportunity to achieve the aim you seek, and you will exploit, prosecute, and advantage to such an end. The white man had no squeamishness. It is, so the other thing that I find interesting, so if we're talking about brainwashing and his intelligence level, to me that also, it almost seems like contradictory. Like he's so clearly articulate and intelligent, and yet he also managed to be brainwashed.
Because he was desperately seeking a father figure. That has a big role in that.
No, I know, but I just find it, I just find it as an interesting tidbit. I get the fact that he was brainwashed, but I find it interesting that he's also, for someone who was, abandoned by his mother, probably not going to school, that he's also this intelligent.
Right. No, I hear you. I hear you on that, but
I'm not commenting. I think it's just an interesting, almost like a contradiction, the fact that he's also that intelligent and brainwashed.
Right. But I know. No, I see what you're saying. I just think
you get more brainwashed if you're intelligent, because it's easier to be like because if you're really intelligent, you see things other people don't. So you can latch onto an idea. I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know.
Well, it's kind of like, it's also kind of like being in, like, from a personal perspective, being in like a counseling profession, and then you have like some faulty thought and you're like, oh wait, that's like this, and you like kind of overthink and you think back to your theories classes and try to figure out your own problems. You know what I mean? Like intelligence, I mean, it doesn't necessarily, I don't even know what I was saying. Yeah. I'm all lost.
Okay, to answer your question, Jen, on May 26, 2017, a federal district court judge in Virginia overturned Malvo's sentence of life without parole on the grounds that it was unconstitutional under Miller versus Alabama because Malvo was 17 years old at the time of the killings. All right. On June 21st, 2018, the United States Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit unanimously upheld a lower court's decision that Malvo's sentences of life without parole were unconstitutional. Okay, so you're seeing this guy may walk, man. I mean, he may do 20 years and walk. He may be out when he's 50. All right, so he did have multiple life sentences, but as you see now from recently, they're getting overturned, it seems like, because he was 17.
That at least life without parole is unconstitutional.
Yeah.
I guess my question...
Yeah, so he may get... So, all right, that is unconstitutional from what they say. So he may get a not parole date, but a parole board date or something, you know,
and still
10 years, 20 years from now.
And still hopefully stay in prison.
Yeah, exactly. Because he was 17. That's the thing. And plus all right, so he actually does feel really remorseful. I'm reading here, it says he gave the Washington Post this lengthy interview saying that he was a monster and, you know, he did these things and he killed these people and he hurt these families and he's been, you know, eaten up inside. Because since he's been in prison, he's been in solitary, right? So he's had a lot of time to think. So he came out and was like, I was a complete monster. You know, I just want to, you know, tell all the families how remorseful and sorry I am, all this stuff.
I guess my question would be...
I think he's serious, too.
I guess my question would be, how much of it was him being brainwashed and actually how much of it did he believe versus how much of it was him trying to please John Muhammad? Because if the belief, I feel like if the belief was truly rooted in him, then the intent might have actually been there versus if it was just him trying to
impress him.
He doesn't believe in it now. He knew he was a monster. You know, he doesn't believe in this.
That's interesting.
Black supremacy or
it definitely
white supremacy.
Gets great. Like, how can you tell? Like, how can you tell he was playing along that he was brainwashed?
He may be just. I don't think. I don't think he believes in any of this stuff, but he believed in his father
he did at the time.
John Muhammad. I mean, he was brainwashed. I definitely believe it. I've seen it before.
Or how closely related is brainwashing to trying to please the person who's brainwashing you?
Well, I mean, what's that called? The blank effect, Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, maybe, but the question is, all right. He. Let's say he was brainwashed. I 100% think he was brainwashed, and I 100% think he feels remorseful right now.
I think you used a better term than brainwashing. What was it? Radicalized?
Yeah, radicalized.
Yeah.
But I mean, so if he was radicalized or brainwashed, right, and he was 17, I mean, I don't know. Should he be in prison?
Yes.
That's what I think too. That's what I think too. I 100% believe he should be in prison as a technicality. It's like, dude, you can't walk free because this is just too big.
This isn't fucking Canada. Okay?
All right, go ahead and read that.
I'm sorry. The following morning, I departed around 3:30 a.m. on the bicycle. I rode many miles to the park. Once I arrived, I changed into my fatigues and began to create my lure. I set a dozen or more golf balls so that they would lead to the target 30 or 40 feet away from the golf course. The spot I chose had a small knoll with roughly a 12-foot slope. I concealed myself and waited. The target came down the knoll. He immediately spotted the balls. He followed them, zigzagging towards the last ball. Once he reached the final ball, I fired. I aimed for his heart as I wasn't confident enough to take a headshot.
So he died right there on the golf course. Okay, so since this episode is getting too long already, I'm showing you a newspaper of the trail of blood they left from Tacoma, Washington. So if you go up all the way over here, Tacoma, they go down to Arizona. They go back up to Tacoma, and the whole time they're going and they're shooting people. A lot of people didn't die, but they'd rob gas stations, they'd rob pawn shops, whatever they can, and they would always use violence because John Muhammad was violence, 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 violence. If you read more of his radicalized bullshit that he spouts out, it's all about violence, right?
Right.
And you know what? It's crazy because, I mean, you shoot a mother with a 6-month-old child. Like, you're a fucking coward. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you're a coward. You're not like strong or like, one of the top.
You're
like,
a terrible person.
You're just a coward. You shoot an unarmed mother, you are a fucking coward. I'm sorry. Like, I mean, it's just fucking. You shoot a 60-year-old golfer. It'd be different if he was going into like a gang and shooting up, a gang with guns and they're shooting back. But these are unarmed people.
Right.
Like, what the fuck? Like, what a
it.
fucking coward, man. I mean, what a piece of shit.
Even throughout the whole...
Both of them, they're fucking pieces of shit.
Yeah.
It pissed me off. Once they find out that the kids were living in Washington, D.C., now Lee Boyd Malvo knew that the kind of mission was to get the kids back. But, he didn't know that it was going to be any of this spree killing thing they were doing or whatever, right? This
so
was
he
all.
Says.
That's what he says in his book, and the other guy's dead, so who knows? Now, I'm reading from his diary. Muhammad then explained that he intended to get back at America by killing 25 people a week for 4 weeks. That he wanted to use 2 snipers with silencers, which was easy enough. Even though we didn't have silencers, we proceeded with the plan. So he wanted to kill 5 people a day. Okay. And in fact, the first shot we talked about, that the Michaels, the 2 before that, he got, what do you call it? Malvo, he didn't pull the trigger. He got,
trigger shot. Shell shock?
Not shell shock.
Trigger shy.
Trigger shy. Yeah.
Trigger shy. Well, same.
So he wanted to kill 5 a day because that was like, what calls the shock effect. That's what he used, the quote shock effect.
Dad, I thought we were simply doing what was needed to earn money, find the children, get settled, return for the children, and resume our normal lives in Canada. What happened to the plan?
Oh, yeah, they were going to move to Canada.
Of course they were.
Forgot to tell you that.
The plan to terrorize Maryland, Virginia, D.C. metropolitan areas for 4 weeks, killing 100 to 200 people in the process. In phase 2, we would use explosive for the next 4 weeks to up the ante. To end the entire thing, we would kill one police officer in Baltimore, Maryland, and decapitate him in a brutal manner. Everyone was going to attend his funeral, half the police force, the mayor, the members of the city council, possibly even the governor. For maximum effect, we would plant our explosives, set with nails and ball bearings at the cemetery. With the use of both primary and secondary devices, we would literally wipe out the police force. Once emergency crews responded to the scene, we would blow up the secondary devices. His eyes gleamed with rage that I had never seen before.
Yeah, so that's what the plan was. He also goes on to say, quote, we're going to fuck with the only thing these people give a fuck about, their money. And he talks about, all this radical shit.
I'm glad they didn't get that far.
Yeah, no shit. And then Lee Boyd Malvo says, sir, it has always been your benchmark that one always sticks with the plan, never deviating. Why this sudden change? Now, this is like the first time he's questioning his father figure, right? And then he says, son, I have a debt to pay. One stone used to kill 3 birds. I will terrorize the real terrorists. Secondly, I get my children back. Lastly, we will affect their bottom line where it hurts all in one swoop and possibly get paid for doing so. So what I didn't go into is they were doing this extortion thing where their plan was to do like a $10 million and we'll stop shooting people type of shit.
We had already selected the targets. Before the violence could escalate into the bombings, I fell asleep in the car when I was supposed to be on watch. The arrest was over in the time it takes to blink. John and I were immediately separated. I blamed myself for our capture for at least a year after our arrest. I did a lot of reckless things in the period leading up to my trial. I was a goner. I just didn't care. That was until fate intervened and a social worker who was appointed to assist me. Her help, along with the members of my legal defense team, saw some good in me worth salvaging. I couldn't see it in myself.
You see? Mm-hmm. It's either he's trying to make himself seem like, not responsible, but you know what I'm saying? Oh, there's some good in me.
He's playing a victim.
Yeah,
himself,
he's playing a victim,
and I don't fucking buy that, honestly.
So ask your question again. Sorry.
So what was the total count of victims?
So it was 10 people in this sniping spree.
Wow.
10 people were killed and 3 others were critically wounded in Baltimore-Washington Metropolitan Area. But that doesn't include the 4 or 5 that was killed en route up to the
Going
spree.
there, yeah.
Here, read this one.
I'm so glad that it wasn't that catastrophic, but it's interesting how it was much more intense the first day.
Yeah,
right?
well, they actually called him because family, of Muhammad had called in.
And they thought it was him?
Oh, yeah. Because, I remember reading in the diary, he went down to visit family with Lee Malvo and was like, this is my apprentice. We're going on a top secret mission and all this stuff. It's like, dude, what the fuck? And then
they were not being conspicuous at all about this.
I mean, honestly, I really believe, and this is a theory, that he did it to get back at his ex-wife and I don't believe he believed in all this radical shit. Maybe he did. He may have, but I'm saying I believed he saw an impressionable kid who needed a father figure. He was 14 years old when he met Muhammad, and then he basically, not brainwashed, what do you mean? Exploited. He basically exploited him, and because Malvo was a trigger man. So I believe in Muhammad's head.
He's thinking he won't get in trouble.
Yeah, he's like, well, I'm not going to get in trouble. I didn't actually shoot the fucking, rifle. I really believe he thought of that.
Yeah,
and then,
I think so too.
And then in the trial, actually, Malvo testifies against Muhammad. And that was a whole drama thing
right.
too. Anyway, read that one last thing.
I think they're both trying to save themselves, honestly. Lee Boyd Malvo was convicted for 2 murders in Virginia on December 18th, 2003. He pled guilty to an additional murder and 1 attempted murder charge in Virginia on October 26, 2004. Additionally, Lee pled guilty to 6 counts of murder in Maryland on October 10th, 2006. I also think he was purposeful in making sure that this occurred while he was still under 18.
Yeah, that's a good. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, someone said something. Someone said one of the talkers said something today on the Facebook, and she said, "I was in the area." And this is, I think the comment got deleted or something because we didn't read it earlier. But I was in the area and I had to go to one of these places that was shot, and I was thinking, well, maybe she had to go to Michael's or something, or something, or whatever. But I was thinking in my head, and I know this sounds kind of crazy, but if I was alive, if I was in that area during that time, and you had to fill your tank up because life just doesn't stop.
Right.
You still got to go to work. You still got to go to school. Life goes on even though people are getting shot off every day. So if you have to fill your gas tank, I would probably want to go to one that's already been shot at.
Oh, yeah, I guess
I know that sounds crazy to think about, but
Actually, I don't know if I actually would, though.
What's the possibility that he's going to go back and shoot at the same gas station?
I mean, you're not wrong, but I would only use that logic if and when they showed that the incident was in a different area. If they
weren't going back.
Right.
So you drive around with no gas in your car.
I mean, literally last week I was praying that I was running on fumes from work to the gas station that was 2 miles away. It was my indicator said it wasn't even 5 miles to empty. It was dash to empty. And I was like, please let me get to the gas station.
You're like Kramer.
I do always let it tell me fuel low.
Okay. So this is some of the pictures he's drawn. This is him in this solitary cell. This is a picture of what he thinks his life was like with Muhammad. You see this this woman right here has this hand around him, he was in a submissive position. Does that make sense?
I guess so, but also to me, the way that I perceive it is that he's so close to paradise, but he also has his eyes closed while he has his hand that way. It's like he's trying to get it, but he doesn't want to fully take it all in.
Maybe he's trying to feel her boob.
No, I know, but
also looks like it.
I mean, yes, but I'm just trying to make it into
Tell us
more
what
artistic.
you think. Go to talkmore.com to see this picture. It's supposed to be him in he can't do anything else. He's not in control of his life. It says, Lee's illustration of Muhammad, control hand around his body. This is him when he went to prison, and this is him now. He's changed.
Yeah.
He definitely wants to get out of prison, and then he's got some poetry here.
I'm pretty sure everyone that's in prison wants to get out of prison.
Doesn't mean it's going to happen or should happen.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button on whatever podcasting app you use. If you like this story, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you're absolutely obsessed with this podcast and want to become our stalker, go to talkmurder.com/join, become a Talkos Primo, get a badass t-shirt, sticker, swag, a lot of love, shout it out all over the place. Tell me what story you want me to do. I'll research it dedicated to you on Talk Murder Me podcast. My name is John, here with Jen and Nicole, and until next time.
Good night, tacos.